It's the Emit Blackwell Show, searching the web for the most creative, intriguing, and captivating people in the world.
Welcome once again to the Emit Blackwell Show. Before we begin, I would like to thank you all for listening. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to this podcast. This episode is brought to you by bookbannersetc.com and Willow Kestrel Jewelry. If you enjoy the show and would like to become a sponsor, you can by contacting me directly at emit.blackwell@gmail.com. On this episode, I have singer-songwriter Tony Rybka. He has produced 6 albums and plays music that flows from his soul. With a folk-bluesy rock sound, his music takes you away with deep lyrics and amazing accompaniments that seem to transport you to a long highway chasing down the horizon. Some of his albums include The Last Man Standing, The Colors of Life, Uglier Than I Am, Say Anything, Run With Me, and Walking Back to Heaven. He has also recently produced a new single named About Today. We are very excited to have Tony Rybka on the show today. All right, Tony, how's it going?
Everything is going well. How's everything with you?
Pretty good. It's freezing here in Michigan. I heard you're down in Florida.
I'm down in Florida, sitting in my backyard, looking over the lake, and it's nice and warm, man.
Thanks. I need that little imagery in my mind of the fact that there is no snow there, but there's a lot of snow here. So when did you begin playing music?
I thought about that because it's usually a good question. I probably always was singing, even as a kid. And then I started just making stuff up as, without any kind of a, instrument or anything. And probably, in my teenage years, somebody passed me down an old guitar my grandfather had, and I just kind of saved up my money until I could buy something decent, and just went from there.
Man, that's an incredible journey. It really is. Now, your music is like a cross between folk, bluesy, rock, and I really enjoy it because it's not just the music in the background. The message itself, the lyrics are extremely deep. And it's like, what are some of the things that even run around your head when you're writing music like this?
Well, usually when I write something, I don't want to sound like I'm being vague or anything, but sometimes I wonder how much thought I really put into it. I mean, I don't just sit down and say, okay, well, I'm going to write a song about blah, blah, blah. Or it's usually, like you said before, something that's happened in my life, or, something that's going on around me, things like that. I don't, sit down and say, well, I'm going to write a song about, this kind of mood or whatever.
Yeah. And with blues music, a lot of the times people do sing from experience, but your music seems to always seem like it's searching for the answer on the horizon, at least some of the newer stuff that I've been listening to. Now, does that keep you searching for new song ideas?
Yes. I know you interview a lot of writers, because I listen to some of your podcasts, and, like with writers, and most of the writers I read, when I was a kid, like Hemingway and that, and, the writers you interview, they're always looking for that perfect sentence. They want that perfect sentence. And so maybe I'm just looking for, try to write that perfect song, whether, people like it or not. I'm just trying to get that, that perfect, song going.
Yeah. And it sounds incredible. It really does. So speaking of music, I mean, who are some of your favorite artists that have inspired you?
Well, that's pretty simple. Let's see, Bob Dylan, John Prine, and I got to throw in Neil Young.
Oh yeah, it sounds like a lot of that stuff. And honestly, I mean, I'll just tell you guys straight up and tell the audience here. I grew up with my dad listening to Jimmy Buffett music all the time. And I still, to this day, really like that sound, that acoustic sound. It's a really great sounding music. And the fact that you have to syncopate all these things with the drums, and you have to kind of keep it light still at the same time, it's all just, it flows, it takes you away. It really does. And your music does the same thing. It really takes you away from what the ordinary is, just with the lyrics and the music. Yeah, it's just incredible to me.
Well, thank you very much.
No problem. And you know what? We'll be right back. We'll be talking about Tony's albums and music that he's produced. So we'll be right back after a message from our sponsors. Have you ever found yourself looking for a gift but just can't find something that's unique and different? There are many online shops to find jewelry, but most of those sites carry manufactured creations that are mass-produced. The internet is at your fingertips. You shouldn't have to travel through all the realms to get something amazing. At Willow Kestrel Jewelry, you will find handcrafted creations. Whether you are looking for a wire-wrapped pendant, natural shells, or beautiful precious gemstones, you will find it all at Willow Kestrel Jewelry Shop at Etsy.com. Willow Kestrel Jewelry uses genuine gemstones, including amethyst, moonstone, citrine, rose quartz, larimar, malachite, sapphire, and many more. You can make it rain with gemstones. I know I did. And it felt like I had been transported back in time to when me and my friend had to take a ring back to a mountainous volcano and toss it in to save the world. Now you can use the coupon code Blackwell20. That's Blackwell with the number 20 to save 20% at checkout. Search Willow Kestrel Jewelry under Shops at Etsy.com today. In a world full of obstacles and haphazard graphics, one company has broken the mold of building amazing book covers, banners, video trailers, and more. Book Banners, Etc. is your premier source for the most epic designs. Constructed from the mind of independent author Lynn Lamb, Book Banners, Etc. is dedicated to making your dream a reality. They offer an array of marketing materials at affordable prices. If you're looking for book covers that pop, banners that captivate, swag for signing, and alluring video trailers, stop by www.bookbannersetc.com. That's bookbannersetc.com. Imagine your world, then make it epic with www.bookbannersetc.com. All right, we are back. Now, your newest single, About Today, is a very unique, okay? It has this nice retro sound, yet it battles with a very electronic mix of samples that only adds to the experience. The song itself seems to reflect on the past and give the listener a glimpse of a simpler time, and then it drives back to the reality of today. What helped inspire this song?
Well, pretty much what you said, the reality of, today. And when I was, like I said, when I was looking for something to put out, and I kind of found that in my own archives. I have a lot of songs that I've recorded I've never released, and I came across that one. I said, this isn't too bad. This is pretty good. But I think with that song, if you listen to it, 30 years ago or 30 years into the future, I don't think that much is going to change as far as what the song's saying, about the state of the world and things like that. Because sadly, I think 30 years from now, it'll still be the same thing.
Yeah, actually, I've talked to some of the authors about things like that people, they repeat the same emotional behavioral patterns, okay? Things around them may change, technology may change, the color of the street signs may change, but emotional patterns happen, and that's what makes your music timeless, is because you follow those emotional patterns, those relationships between people.
I like that timeless thing. I like that.
All right. Well, we're going to take a listen to Tony's newest single, About Today. So listen up.
Sound
All right, we are back. And like I said before, now that everybody's heard what I've been talking about, it is an amazing song. It really, like I said before, very timeless. Your lyrics are intriguing, okay? I guess the only way I can explain this is that your lyrics are experience-based. So, for example, you don't get it unless you've lived it. And from what I can tell, you've lived it. What are some of the life experiences that have led you to this point?
Some of the big ones, let's see, big as, my father committed suicide years back, and that had a big effect on me, even though, my parents were divorced and I was at a young age and I really didn't know him, but it had an effect on me. You always got that in the back of your mind because I never knew why he did it or what was the reasoning for it, and I had put part of that in the song I wrote called The Birthday Song, and I had a brief thing in there about his suicide. A lot of things other than that is just, like we talked about, or, just everyday things that happened to me, and I had the same things happen to me like everybody else. You have family members pass away, friends pass away, and, things like that. So those are probably the biggest, influences, it's like, when people pass away. I've written a lot of songs about that.
Yeah, and the lives they leave behind. It's incredible when you look at somebody's life. For example, I just had my grandmother pass away a few years back, and it's easy to mourn somebody. But when you celebrate their life, and in your case, you've, put them into music, amazing way of taking their life and turning it into something amazing. So I commend you for that wholeheartedly, because it's incredible what you do.
Well, thank you again. There's been a few songs, like Waiting on a Train. That goes back to, I got the phone call that a friend of mine, passed away suddenly. And basically that's what got that song started. And that was one of those songs, I think it's like 5 minutes long or however long. And it basically only took me like as long as the song is, that's how long it took me to write it. It just came out,
Wow. That's pretty incredible, So now I love the blues, and you bring a style that really drives home the art of storytelling in a blues song. Do you find it challenging to come up with new lyrics, or, like I said before, do you use those life experiences to guide you?
I just go back to life experiences, whatever's happening in my life. I don't search out things and I don't make things up, like a lot of songwriters, they'll make things up that, never even happened to them, whether that's good or bad, a lot of times it works out great for people. But I've never been able to do that. Closest I've come to, I wrote a song called Wasting Time, and, there's a couple things in there that, never happened to me. I mean, I wasn't a rodeo clown and I never went to jail, stuff like that. But pretty much everything that's in there happened to me one way or the other. Some songs are, not about one certain person. There might be 4 people in the same song, things like that. So I pick bits and pieces from, different life experiences.
Yeah. Now, do you ever find out that your fans, when they listen to your music, your life experiences then become their life experiences? Like, for example, they start to relate to the type of music that you're writing just based on the fact that you might have had the same experience.
Right. I've had trouble with that in my own mind, wondering if maybe, it's too much of my life experience. But I had an incident, but a couple years ago, I got a message from a woman, and I wrote the song, It's a Good Day to Be a Dog. And their dog had passed away. And so they swore they were never going to get another dog. And then she sends me this message. Well, after hearing your song, even though it's a sad song, she goes, we have to get another dog. So if I did nothing else, I saved one dog.
There you go. One dog it means the world to that dog,
Yeah. Yeah.
So I had mentioned that your music is reminiscent of chasing a proverbial horizon. And when I listen to your music, I'm taken away with each bar. All right. I can imagine myself driving down an empty highway in a 1965 Ford Mustang convertible on a hot Ohio day. Is that the kind of imagery you give your fans?
I don't set out to make like a certain image. I did have somebody, same thing, contact me about a song, Colors of Life. And she said the same thing what you said. She goes, I can picture myself driving down the road, my window. She didn't have a 65 Mustang convertible.
Yeah, neither do I, but I would love to.
Yeah, I know, but it's a good car to pick. And she goes, I can picture myself driving down the road. I got the windows rolled down, and it's a warm summer night, and the song's playing on the radio. So, there is that imagery. Do I do it consciously? I would have to say no. Everything I do is almost like stream of conscious. It just comes out, and it either comes out or it doesn't come out.
Yeah, it makes
either
a lot
works
of sense.
or I just got to put the guitar back in the case.
So now we're going to take a listen to another one of your songs. This one's called "You Can Always Blame Me." It's from your "Walking Back to Heaven" album. So let's take a listen.
I was moving through the wind, the sky was turning black. After what I said last night, I know there's no turning back. Had a dream once that the devil was on my heels. Woke up this morning and that dream felt so real. When you can't find someone to blame, you can always blame me. Last time I saw you, thought I got away clean. You were more of a nightmare than you ever were a dream. I was thinking about you, drinking in New Orleans. Shutter started shuddering, the wind began to scream. When you can't find someone to blame, you can always blame me. When you can't find someone to blame, you can always blame me. Outside of Mobile, I stopped for something to eat. Didn't stay too long though, I was afraid that we might meet. So I saddled up and I rode out of town. Saw a flash of lightning and the rain came pouring down. When you can't find someone to blame, you can always blame me. When you can't find someone to blame, you can always blame me. Well, I got home around 7:30. I wasn't clean, but I wasn't dirty. So I simple life, even if you don't care. When you can't find someone to blame, you can always blame me. When you can't find someone to blame, you can always blame me.
All right, and we're back. Now, I'm sure that you've played a few gigs in a few bars. What are some of the other venues that you've played over the years, and what are some of your favorite crowds?
Okay, well, I don't play out very often, and that just goes back to the reason I can write songs is because I have continuous anxiety and depression, you know, and performing, you know, when I started doing this, I wanted to be a songwriter, and I never really set out to, you know, to be a performer. I'd rather play in front of 50 people than 500, you know, that kind of thing. The bigger venues I've actually been asked to play at, it's either been, you know, scheduling problems, or I felt the band they wanted me to open for wasn't a good, you know, match.
Mm-hmm.
And then the few times I said yes, I always got bumped like the day before. So.
Man. Well, you know, I tell you what, your music, if it's coming out of a radio in somebody's home, it really, like I said before, it can make a difference in how their day goes. It really does. I've been listening to your music all day long today, and I've been just kind of doing things around the house, trying to get things cleaned up and things like that, working on podcasts, editing, doing all kinds of things. But I really like your music because it's something that you can listen to at any time. I mean, here I am sitting here in the middle of winter, and I'm really enjoying your stuff because it just sounds good, you know?
Yeah, I've had other people tell me that, oh, I listened to, you know, this song, that song today while I was doing my housework or cleaning or working in the garage or, you know, things like that. You know, it's that background, you know, they got that background music going, you know, and so I always find that, you know, I like that.
Well, I think I'm going to be adding it to my summer playlist as well. Because, yeah, I could take this music anywhere, and I'm going to be sharing it with everybody, and hopefully anybody who's out there who's listening, get this music by Tony Rybka. It's amazing music. You'll fall in love with it, because if it doesn't matter what age you are, you're going to get hooked. So where can people find your music, Tony?
You can find it everywhere. You can find it on Spotify. You can find it on Amazon. You can find it on iTunes. You can find it, you know, you said like you found it on Reverb Nation.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty much if you Google my name, you'll find it everywhere. It's, you know, like I said, you know, one of my main things was, you know, as a writer was to get people to hear the songs, and, you know, with the internet and everything now, I mean, I get played all around the world every day, and it's, you know, and I can look it up most of the time.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So,
It's cool. So now, what advice would you give to a musician who's just getting started, maybe with their first guitar?
I'd probably say get the best guitar you can afford. You know, it doesn't have to be a great guitar to learn on. But if you get a good guitar, it's a lot easier to learn on. But at the same time, too, I'm fortunate enough to live in Cleveland, Ohio, which is also the home of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and Museum.
Oh, yeah.
which if you're ever passing through town, you got to stop there. And when you see the instruments these people recorded, these just unbelievable songs on, I mean, some of them look like, you know, taped together, broken, you know, things screwed onto them. So it's not a matter of, you know, having the most expensive thing, you know, just whatever you have, just to make the best use of it, you know, try to get the best sound of whatever you have, you know, get the best sound out of whatever you have.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
You know,
So now we've hit the section of the show where most of the time I put my authors through a quiz of some sort. And now that we're into season 3 of the show, we're actually going to do something different. And now what I'm going to do is we're going to play a game called 2 Truths and 1 Lie. And the way that this works, Tony, is you're going to say 2 things that are true and 1 thing that's a lie. But you're not going to tell me which one's which. I'm going to have to guess. So we're going to do best 2 out of 3. And are you ready?
I am ready. This was a lot harder to do than I thought.
I know.
The truth things were easy. It was the lies that were hard.
Yeah,
and I did 3, and I actually did 3 of them. So that worked out good. So, but it was hard. It was hard. So
all right. So I'm going to get this thing started, and then that way we can see how this gets played. So you have to guess which one is a lie. All right. Here's the first one. When I was 3, I broke my ankle. That's the first one. When I was 8, I ran away from home. And when I was 8, I came back from home later that day because I was too afraid.
Well, with that said, it may be a trick, but I got to go with the broken ankle.
Yes, that one is the truth. Yes, or the lie. Actually, I broke my ankle later on in life, and I fell off a snow hill because my brother pushed me down. But it was pretty funny. So, all right, go ahead with yours, sir.
Okay, I mix them up with music stuff and just regular everyday things. I tell people that most of my songs are long, so I don't have to write so many. That's one. I love all animals except cats because they scare me, and I have never bounced a check.
Oh. Okay, so let's see here. The one that is the lie. I think the one that is the lie is that you don't like cats.
You are correct. I love all animals.
That's good. That's good. All right.
I love all animals. My cat George will tell you that. He's got it made. Best hospital care, best food. He's doing good. All right. We're tied, man.
Yeah, we're tied. So hopefully this will be the breaker. Let's see here. All right. Okay, here's the first thing. I don't have any hair on my head. I've actually seen your picture. I don't even know. I can't even think. Okay. I've actually seen your picture and I can't remember. All right. The second thing is, my favorite color is green. Okay? And here's the third thing. I own a 1965 Ford Mustang convertible. Which one is the lie?
I got to go with the 65 Mustang unless you lied to me before.
No.
Because you said you didn't have one.
No, I just wish I had one. Yeah, that was correct. That was correct. That was definitely the lie. So, yep, go ahead. You have one more chance at this.
Okay. At home, back in Ohio, I train people how to ride motorcycles in the summer. I give guitar lessons. I once worked at a furniture store.
Oh, man, Tony, this is a hard one. Oh, my gosh. Because I could see you doing all 3 of these things. I probably bought furniture from you. Let's see.
You may have.
I think the lie is that you train people on motorcycles.
The lie is I give guitar lessons.
No way. Really? You don't give guitar lessons?
No, nobody want to take guitar lessons from me.
Oh, man.
No, I train people how to ride motorcycles in the summer, and I did once work at a furniture store.
Oh, man. Well, like I said...
When I was a kid going to school.
Well, like I said, that's those life experiences. Motorcycles and furniture. Kids out there listening, that's how you get started. Motorcycles and furniture. Yeah. All right, Tony, it was a pleasure having you on the show. It was great fun. You won our little game here, and I want to thank you. You are very talented, and I love your music, and everybody who's out there should be listening to Tony's stuff. Thank you very much for being on the show.
And I want to thank you very much for having me on the show. It was fun, man, and I wish the best for you. I hope everything works out great for you with your podcast, and it just keeps going and going and getting bigger and bigger and bigger.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that. And this is Emit Blackwell signing out. Stay creative and stay captivating, my friends.
It's the Emit Blackwell Show, searching the web for the most creative, intriguing, and captivating people in the world.